Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, Chapter 12, A Heavy Load for Young Shoulders. I hate to tell you this, Rebecca, but I'm afraid Amanda's troubles, and mine too, for that matter, have to do with money. Jane explained in a worried tone of voice as they sat upstairs talking in the brick house. There was a frown on her face as she spoke, and she twisted her handkerchief nervously in her lap. "What happened, Aunt Jane?" Rebecca cried. "Miranda invested $2,500 of our money in a business owned by a friend of our father," Jane began. "For years, we received an annual income of $100. When father's friend died, his son took over the business. For 5 years, everything ran smoothly. And suddenly one day we got a letter explaining that the firm had gone bankrupt and we lost all our money." "Oh, how terrible!" Rebecca cried sympathetically. "So now you don't have that $100 income every year." "That's right, and $100 was a lot of money to us. Of course, all this happened when we went to the Wareham Academy, so we really had to pinch our pennies," Jane went on. "Did you have other investments?" Rebecca wanted to know. "Yes, and we were living on the interest from that money. We don't ever want to dip into the principal," her aunt stated empathetically. "I feel like such a burden," Rebecca said, tears welling in her eyes. "You mustn't feel that way," Jane tried to assure her, giving her niece a hug and holding her close. "Your sister Hannah is involved with a young man she's seeing, and your brother John wants to be a doctor. The way we see it, you're Arilla's only hope for the future. It's important you get your education so you'll be able to work when you graduate and help your mother support the younger children." Unfortunately, things were not running smoothly at Sunnybrook Farm either. The potato crop had failed, and there were hardly any apples on the trees. The hay crop was a puny one, and our Aureliella was having spells of dizziness. To make matters worse, Mark had broken his ankle. This time had come to pay the interest on the mortgage, and for the first time in 14 years, the Randalls did not have the required $48. The only bright spot on the horizon was Hannah's engagement to Will Melville, a young farmer whose land adjoined Sunnybrook Farm. But Hannah was so wrapped in her own little world, she hardly recognized how nervous and upset her mother was about money matters. Right after the engagement was announced, Hannah came to Riverboro to visit at the brick house for a week. Rebecca enjoyed their time together very much, but Miranda and Jane were not as enthusiastic. The afternoon, Hannah took the stagecoach back to Temperance. Miranda told Jane she was glad to see her grow. "She's a selfish girl, that Hannah. She'll never do anything more to help Aurelia with all those children. I spoke to her about it before she left." What did she say?" Jane asked, putting some corn pudding she had made on the stove as they chatted in the kitchen. "She told me she'd done her share helping her mother all these for years, and she wasn't going to burden Will with her poor relations." "Those were her exact words," Miranda reported. "Oh, I never," Jane replied, genuinely shocked. She clutched the back of a chair to steady herself. "She's a Randall through and through," Miranda snorted as she headed to the dining room to sit at the table. "If that mortgage on Sunnybrook Farm is ever paid off, it won't be Hannah that'll do it. It'll be Rebecca or me." When Rebecca returned to the academy that fall, she knew she had to study harder than ever because her family were all depending on her to top grades and get a good job when she graduated. Naturally, she was thrilled when her classmates elected her assistant director of the school paper, The Pilot. Not only was it a great honor, but it gave her an opportunity to write more essays and poems and see her work in print. And so it was that the golden autumn days sped swiftly by. One day when Adam Ladd was in Wareham, he stopped by the school to see Rebecca. He had just been in Temperance on a business connected with the proposed ranch of the railroad that might possibly lead right through Sunnybrook Farm. If the deal took place, Mrs. Randall would receive a tiny sum of money for her land. Word had reached Mr. Ladd that the good lady was mighty impressed financially. He wondered how all this was affecting Rebecca. As they strolled to the campus together, Mr. Ladd couldn't help but note that she looked pale and thin from the long, hard hours of study. However, Rebecca was wearing a very attractive black wool dress at her Aunt Jane's second best. She hooked her braids around the back of her head in a very feminine style. Adam Ladd looked at her in a way that made Rebecca put her hands over her face and laugh shyly. I know what you're thinking, she said, that my dress is an inch longer last year. My hair is different. But I'm not a young lady yet. Truly, I'm not. I'll be 16 in 1 month. You look very nice, her dear friend said, but I'm afraid you're working too hard. Perhaps you should rest up over vacation and try to recover your dimples. A shadow crept over Rebecca's face. Don't be kind, Mr. Aladdin. I can't bear. It's not one of my dimply days. And she ran in the school gate and disappeared with a farewell wave of her hand. Adam Ladd wended his way to the principal's office in a thoughtful mood. This year marked the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Wareham Academy. He wanted to tell Mr. Morrison that, in addition to his gift of 100 books to the reference library, he wanted to celebrate by offering prizes in English literature. The generous trustee had decided the awards would be made to the writers of the 2 best essays submitted by students in the juniors and senior classes. This would either be money or books. After a very profitable interview with Mr. Morrison, whereupon they made a lot of decisions, Mr. Ladd stopped by Emily Maxwell's office to learn about the English literature competition to discuss Rebecca. Doesn't it strike you that she looks wretchedly tired? He asked. She does indeed, and I'm considering taking her south with me to the Old Point Comfort for a good rest during school vacation, Miss Maxwell told him. The problem is, I have a slender purse. You must let me help with traveling expenses, Mr. Ladd offered, pacing the floor excitedly. I would be happy to do something to make life easier for Rebecca. I accept your kind offer, Miss Maxwell, but only on the condition it must be secret between the 2 of us. Are we in agreement? We are, Mr. Ladd said. And the 2 friends shook hands warmly. Maybe you could help Rebecca decide on the title for the essay she was going to write for the competition. I'm sure she wants to enter. From that moment, Mr. Ladd and Miss Maxwell looked out the window and saw Rebecca by in the company of a tall, attractive boy of 16. Apparently, they were reading something aloud, for their hands bent over on a sheet of paper. Rebecca kept glancing up at her friend, her eyes sparkling with appreciation. Miss Maxwell, cried Mr. Ladd, I am a trustee of the school, but upon my word, I don't believe in coeducation. I have my doubts from time to time, Miss Maxwell admitted, but today's not one of them. That's a very impressive sight which you are privileged to witness. For the 2 young people who have just walked by are the editor-in-chief and the assistant editor of our school paper, The Pilot. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.